Namaste, namaste, my brothers and sisters. Here we are for the continuum of the sharings. And in this sharing, I will be sharing about full circle. Today, 32 years ago, I was on this very porch celebrating my first birthday here at Morningtide. 32 years later, on my 33rd birthday, I am here with you now. I've shared that I would share my journey with you, and I have been. In this sharing, I will get more in depth into my journey. I was born in the city of Seven Hills, July 7th, 1983. I always wondered why I was born in July 7th of 83. And the Schumann resonancy, which is the frequency of the earth, is 7.83 hertz, 783. When I was young, I was immensely blessed to be able to experience life in absolute perfection for where the journey was going to lead me, as the universe delivers everything in divine perfection. I celebrated my first birthday right here at Morningtide. And from there, when I was 2 years old, had a golf club put in my hand in La Quinta, California on the second hole of La Quinta Country Club. Over the years, I competed in many sports from soccer to basketball, and golf was the main focus. Throughout the years, I learned being on the golf course was and is a beautiful gateway to experiencing life's perfection. Though I was very caught in the competition, I was always winning. I won my first tournament at 7 years old in the 8 to 11 division in California, and went on with my high school to win the state tournament in Washington. Though when I moved back to Washington, I had just came back from a trip with my family to La Paz, Mexico, where on the trip, I took one CD with me. I went with my dad to the record store, and I was drawn to the record rack in the release area where the new releases were, and I picked up, at that time, a group I had never heard before. Mind you, I was about 11 years old. It said Bone Thugs and Harmony, new release, creeping on the come up. I resonated with this group, and I picked that CD up off the shelf, and I said, "Dad, I like this album." And without hesitation, he bought me the album. It was the only CD I took with me on my trip to La Paz, Mexico that summer. And I sat there listening to the album in rotation over and over and over, synchronizing with the harmonies, feeling the vibration and the R&B flavor in which the message was delivered, relating what I heard to my life, which in many ways was in dichotomy to the exact wording of a lot of the songs, though the harmony and the frequency and the way it was delivered I could feel. And I was drawn to this music. But I also was from Seattle, Washington. At that time, Nirvana was becoming huge. And when I moved back in 5th grade, that next year, I literally was a couple blocks from where Kurt Cobain lived. And at that time, Smells Like Teen Spirit had been a global phenomenon. And being back in Seattle, I embraced that culture and music. Always drawn to music, and the weather being rainy, I, from the golf course, decided to go indoors. And I learned to be able to understand how the power of music could spread a message. That same year, as I was taking a dear friend of mine home who I met in 5th grade, who actually we recognized the first time we hung out, was one of my mom's sorority sister's sons, which was an interesting synchronicity. On the way home, I heard a song, a flow that I recognized, and I turned that song up when I was driving with my family to drop him off. And on the radio was a song called Crossroads, and I knew it right away as a group named Bone Thugs and Harmony. From that moment, I once again re-immersed myself fully into the Bone Thugs and Harmony, East Eternal Records, and the song The Crossroads, which Bone always had a very spiritual undertone, and I found that synchronicity in their music about harmony, about love, about life, and that beauty. And I knew those were my brothers. As I continued through school, I continued doing music, immersing myself in the messaging more and more so. And at 19 years old, after I graduated high school, I decided to build a recording studio. When I built the recording studio in downtown Seattle, the doors opened. And as I had seen all the Bone shows when they came to town, I heard that Bone was coming back to Seattle, where at that time, through the team I worked with, and one of Seattle's great musical families who I was working with at the time, the mother of the family reached out as she was doing some management for us at the studio and personal management for me as an artist at that time, and reached out to Ruthless Records. And from Ruthless Records got in contact with the manager of Bone Thugs and Harmony at that time, Steve Lobel, who acknowledged that it would be a compliment to do a record with Lazy Bone. Everything was set up. I was put on the phone when I was headed to the Apple Cup, which I had just gotten at the University of Washington. And we were heading over to the Apple Cup, and I got the phone call that I was going to be doing a song with Bone Thugs and Harmony. When Bone came to Seattle that year on December 5th, and we recorded into the evening a song called You Can't See, and me and Lazy coined the term from C to C, which is very interesting when we talk about the chakras and the frequencies. But we will get back and tie it all into it as we continue the sharing. As I continued forward, I recorded multiple records with Bone Thugs and Harmony. We actually completed the song on December 6th, and December 6th was the actual day of my grandfather's passing away. My grandfather held me once, but I did not know in physical either of my grandfathers. It also was one of my best friends growing up's birthday, December 6th. And we were very, very much so, through our journey of growing up, immersed in the music of Bone Thugs and Harmony. So the synchronicity and the days aligned right there. I went on to continue recording, and that next spring, got a phone call from Bone Thugs and Harmony offering to take me on tour for my first nationwide tour, which was a Take Me Home tour, because Bone Thugs had just done a song with Phil Collins. And actually, after recording the song with me in Seattle, they flew from Seattle overseas to film with Phil Collins. Me and Lazy had priorly done a song called The World Keeps Changing when he had came to Seattle earlier that year in 2003. That was the first single, The World Keeps Changing, that I released. When we toured with Bone Thugs and Harmony and we got the phone call, that was the song that me and Lazy would be performing on tour. We were then to set off on tour from the House of Blues on Sunset Boulevard, which would be my first show ever recorded across the nation. And this was my first time really away from home for months. I set off on tour with Bone Thugs and Harmony, who I listened to, whose CD I picked off the shelf when I was just 11 years old, 8 years later. And from that point, I immersed myself in touring with my brothers, working with my brothers, starting a record label, and recording songs and releasing records and touring for the next 15 years. Through that journey, I continued to fully be immersed in the ego. And it was all about promotion, self-promotion. But there was always a spiritual undertone to my music. And I knew that there was something. I had all the material possessions possible, everything that I could have asked for. But I knew there was something more. I remember one night laying on the floor of my studio with two very lavish cars parked out front, and a night of recording with partying all night long, waking up on the ground, saying to myself, I have every material possession possible, but yet I still know that there's more, and there's something that I feel is a void. My grandmother passed away in 2008, and at that moment when she passed away, it awoke me that now there was someone in spirit who I truly knew who loved me, who would be watching everything I did. And I knew she was with me because I could feel her energy. But that was just the gate, the doorway, to me reawakening that all is spirit, that all is one, that my actions I have to be accountable for. My record label was called Serial Records, and I wore the SR on my chest, SR in diamonds on my chest, which the SR I later, when awoken, realized was self-realization. Self-realization. I moved to LA in 2011 after releasing a song called Hollywood, which, once again, Bone, Lazy, and I toured and performed. After that, I immersed myself deeper and deeper into the publishing side of music and worked with and collaborated and managed many very talented artists who are still to this day doing beautiful, beautiful things in the music industry. After that journey, while managing a group called Cicero, I was introduced to a very high-level being by the name of Doriana Sanchez, who shared with me her experience of healing after she had gone through an immense surgery that had to do with having a tumor in her brain. And during her healing, after an 18-hour surgery, she would see a ball of pink light where she would meditate upon, and by calling in angels, Jesus, and all loved ones that she knew would be there to heal her, she healed. And once again set out across the nation to produce, and still continues to produce, the most phenomenal shows that grace the mainstream. Though we all see there is more, there is more. And when I met with Doriana, I knew and could feel her energy. And she said that it was all about being grateful, gratitude, and just being. I had always gone by the name of Dub B, duplicating the reality I saw, duplicating the material plane, thinking the material plane would bring me happiness after all the years of experience with those who I knew through family and in the entertainment industry and on all levels, that material was fleeting. And I knew energy was more, so our conversation continued in energy. As we had our conversation, she acknowledged that we should go to the lake shrine. I said, you should take us, and we took the whole group. We all went to the lake shrine, meditated, and Doriana blessed me with the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. At this time, I had been taking hikes by myself up into the Hollywood Hills to the prayer box, connecting with energy, knowing and seeing that the center pulse of Western society was flowing through Hollywood. And standing over all of Hollywood and seeing it was just buildings, sound stages, and an immense amount of production to actualize the visions that we all follow. As I went to Paramahansa Yogananda's Lake Shrine, as Doriana had welcomed us, she handed me the Autobiography of a Yogi, where I at that time had yet to read a book fully. Over all the years of schooling and everything, I was too caught up doing other things. But I immersed myself in the book, 10 pages at a time. And as I read the pages that I was reading, it was as if I had wrote those pages. It was everything I always had felt. From then on, I started really meditating, going deep within, understanding that the self-realization fellowship that Yogananda had established, and the SR I wore on my chest, the SR, was self-realization. It was in me the whole time. I knew as I went deeper and deeper in meditation, and as you awaken to, that the world manifests through you. I went to Yogananda's ashram in Encinitas, California, and in a meditation saw coming back to Morningtide. And in 2013, I came back from Hollywood to Morningtide. And for the first time, for 2.5 years, spent those years by myself, learning the wisdoms, reading the books of all yogis, seers, prophets, philosophers, and illumined beings from across the globe. And there still are many that I immerse myself into this day. I went deep into meditations, watched documentaries, and realized that self-realization was what I always had known and what I was being led to come back to realize. And Now, as I continue to dive deeper into my sharings, at 33 years old, I stand here now on the same porch after 3 years of an very immense and dynamic journey, and all that has been happening that has tested my fearlessness and faith as the universe and as God, the All, the Divine Mother, any name we call the All, has had all written in perfection to bring me home. Just a couple weeks ago, my brother's Bone released a new song called Coming Home, as if it is the soundtrack of my life, as we have done many songs together and I have done many tracks that I've released globally. I have seen a soundtrack in my life. And from the Take Me Home tour, as I had acknowledged in the months prior, that I had come home. And coming home is coming fully to heart, coming back to the non-need of ego, the non-need of material satisfaction. For it is all one. It is not turning yourself from the material plane. It is understanding you are it. 33 years, and now I am home. And as I walked away from what I had been fully immersed in for so many years in the entertainment plane, and heeded my call forward in the beginning of this year, went to Asilomar where Wayne Dyer had filmed The Shift, the wonderful movie that he was in, and sat in meditation. I knew I was home. I knew I had come home. I was on a journey home, and I had come back to Morningtide. And in the last year and a half of Morningtide, it has been very dynamic because I became materially attached to it. And the Infinite said, you cannot be attached to anything, for you are all. And I have allowed. And when you allow, you realize that all is given to you, that all is with you, and all is for you. 33 years later, I stand here with you on the same porch that I celebrated my first birthday. And I can say, I am home. July 4th, Independence Day, Bone Thugs and Harmony had actually, my brothers were 40 minutes from this island that I'm on the peninsula of Washington. Basically came to my backyard. Though I had came to my crossroads 20 years after the Crossroads was released. And I was home. I was here. I was back at what I call the Morningtide Ashram, where I saw a meditation to come, where the Infinite came and revealed the all to me that manifested in me and through me. And as the Course in Miracles says, share the kingdom with the kingdom, so I shall continue to share on all mediums, on all platforms. Though it is all one, and these are just words. It is all just me as a signpost in the journey, pointing back to the Infinite. There is a quote about the entertainment industry that Kurt Cobain had said, and it was that, quote, I was tired of pretending that I was someone else just to get along with people just for the sake of having friends. When you realize you are the all, you realize that you are all. SR, see real, I saw real. Self-realization. Self-realization is the key in every spiritual practice, because it all points back to your essence as begotten, your essence as the one. All is God. All is the Infinite. See your face in all, for it is God's face. Love all as your brothers and sisters, no matter race, color, sexual preference, for they are a manifestation of the one, you. They are in your perception. And when you release all separateness and stop trying to have friends, appeasing the material plane, you merge. You realize that all is working for you. What else is there but God? Everything is God. This is the truth. This is the essence. Rebirth is birth back to spirit. 33 degrees in Freemasonry. 33 vertebrae in the spine. 33 years. 32 years later, everything has came full circle. And I stand here with you and say, allow, it has already been written for you. Live it lovingly and fearlessly. Allow the infinite to show you how beautiful living life is when you see with eyes to see. I am you. You are me. I am home. I am grateful for all my journey. I am here now, back, celebrating birth. From the root chakra to the crown chakra, from sea to sea is the tones. All vibration, all one, all God. From morning tide ashram, full circle. Let the infinite reveal your essence and see it all as written in perfection, in every moment, in love and in fearlessness. For you are it. We are one, and I am with you. Agape Ananda. Be. Namaste.